Barbell Benders podcast. We're here today with a very special guest, one of our own teammates in the MSUPL powerlifting team. We have Caleb Meyer with us. Caleb, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're making it. Again, trying to get as strong as you, just like Jesus.
Yeah, another very strong guest on today.
I'm not as strong as Jesus. I wish I was.
Yeah, so Caleb, you're how old?
I'm 21.
21 and a junior here at Mississippi State?
I'm senior.
Okay, senior. So why don't we just go ahead and dive in? We'll start with your powerlifting origin story, how you got started in it, and what's happened since then.
All right. So from the time I was 6 years old, I've been pretty much competing in something. I always feel like I have a competitor's mentality. I've always wanted to do something. I played baseball from the time I was 6 years old. Played football from the time I was 8 years old. I've always baseball was a fun sport for me, but football was always my first love. So I always put an emphasis on football. So I started out lifting weights, just about like everybody else does. I was 13 years old, lifting for football. Pretty much the standard story for everybody that starts lifting. I was decently strong in junior high. I think I had a 200-pound bench and a 200-pound power clean by the time I left. So even though whatever, you always talk at school, what's your bench? Like, I can bench more than you, blah, 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 blah. So I've always been interested in strength. So I get to high school, play football and baseball. I get to about the time I turn 16 when I can drive, and I've been watching YouTube just about like everybody else has. And I started watching lifting videos and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a six pack. I'm gonna get big chest, big shoulders. I'm gonna be ripped, blah blah. Because I've always been a bigger set guy. So I always thought about doing that, and so I started really getting serious into lifting when I was 16. My friend's stepdad had a home gym, and we went every single night of the weekday, and we went and lifted with him. Didn't really know what I was doing. The guy, his name's Paul Thompson. He knew what he was doing, but he was more of a bodybuilding style guy, which was new to me because football the most you do is 5 reps. So I seriously gained a lot of muscle size, good quality muscle. Got a lot stronger. Went from literally a 215, 225 bench to a 275 bench from my sophomore year to junior year of high school in maybe 3 or 4 months of just doing bodybuilding. That is really where I learned how to lift and what, doing each muscle group, learned kind of how lifting works. So after that, I went and started doing my own thing. I played football. I quit baseball because I got screwed out of positions, but I quit baseball because I was more interested in lifting weights than I was playing baseball. Baseball took away from gym time. I was, 16, 17, and I would have to go play a baseball game instead of going to the gym that night. And so that was just one of the deciding factors of why I quit baseball. Plus, I knew that if I quit baseball and started lifting was going to impact my performance in football better than baseball would ever do. I often I'd work out every single day. Sometimes I'd work out 3-4 times a week with football, and I'd work out 6-7 times a week on my own. So, I'd do 10, 11 workouts a week, and
Dang.
Didn't really, have a plan all the time. I'd hit every muscle group or hit bench, squat a little bit, never deadlifted. I'd squat every once in a while, mainly with football. I loved bench press. Bench press was my thing. I got up to a 330 bench press during my senior year of football. During my senior year football season. I was like 6 foot, 250 pounds. Then after football, I decided that I was a fat boy and that I needed to lose weight because I had a big old gut, and I was like, I'm tired of looking at it. So I set up my mind. I was like, yeah, I'm going to lose weight. So over the course of about 6 or 7 months, I went from 250 to 200 pounds, and I got down to 199. I have pictures from the beach that year, and I looked like a twig. I was like, golly, it was bad.
Well, thank you, Caleb. I appreciate that.
You were Altman. You were a lot bigger than I was. Trust me, you were a lot bigger. And your squat and deadlift was stronger than mine at that point. So
yes.
Well, not deadlift. We'll get into that.
Almost had it.
So I have my whole life. I have been a guy that my dad has always instilled in me from the time I was little is like, you're going to work hard. You're going to work hard for whatever you get, and you're going to work hard at whatever you do. You're going to do everything 110%, always. So every, baseball practice, I'd go to baseball practice, and then on an off day, we'd go hit, or we'd go field ground balls, or we'd hit fly balls, or football, we'd run, we'd do drills in the yard. He would do them with me. He'd make me run laps around the football field, full pads, and he would run them with me in boots and Carhartt pants around the field every football practice. From the time I was, 8 years old till I got into high school. He was just like, you're going to do what it takes, and then you're going to do more than what it takes. Like, you're going to go the extra mile.
So he told you that you were going to work hard, but he also gave you an example of what working hard looks like.
Exactly. And to this day, I don't know anybody that works harder than my dad at what he does. And I didn't realize it at the time. I was like, oh man, this sucks. This is horrible. But now I'm so thankful for it, because I wouldn't be the same man I am today without it. I don't think I would be as competitive in powerlifting if I was at it, because that taught me to work. Like, you do whatever it takes to get yourself to the next level. So I'm extremely thankful for that. I didn't realize it at the time, but now that I go back and look at it, have those memories of it, it's crazy. So anyways, got a little sidetracked, but I feel like that was important to talk about.
Yeah, it definitely was.
I had never deadlifted. So my cousin, his name is Graham Oliver, he was a big lifter. He was the type of guy that was a genetic freak. He was, 14 years old the first time he ever picked up ever bench press, and he bench pressed 205 pounds. Like, I don't know. No, he was like 13. No. He was 12. He was 12 years old.
Wow.
12 years old, first time ever bench pressed 205. It was the most unbelievable thing. Anyways, big lifter. He was a more bodybuilder type guy, super shredded. Like, he used to be 16 years old with a full set of abs, like giant chest, big shoulders. Could have done a bodybuilding competition. Anyways, he's really one of the reasons that got me interested in it. This was 2016, so this is like right in the middle of my cut. He comes into town for Christmas, and he's like, all right, we're going to deadlift. I'm like, I've never deadlifted before. He's like, well, you're going to learn today. So we go in to deadlift, and he was 185 pounds at the time. He's probably like a 475, 485 puller at I think he was 19. Something like that. Maybe more, I don't remember. But he decently strong guy. He was for his age. He was like, you're gonna deadlift, and so we went in, we deadlifted. We're working up, and he's like, he pulls 455, and it was easy. And he's like, all right, your turn. I was like, what? I was like, okay. So I go, and I pull it, and I'm like, wow, that was a lot easier than I thought. So he's like, all right. So he films it, I have it on video, whatever. So he's like, all right, put 5 plates on there. I'm like, what? I was like, how much is this? He's like, $4.95. I was like, oh gosh, okay. He does it, which was a PR for him at the time. And then I go to do it, and I pull it all the way up. One of the hardest things I've ever done. I felt like my eyes were about to explode out of my head. And I put it down, and he's like, the camera didn't work. I'm like, oh no. It's like, dang it. He's like, do it again. Add the 2.5. I was like, what? So I go get my terrible sumo stance with my toes pointed forward and my back completely horizontal to the ground. And I pull it. And I was like, wow, I'm actually kind of, good at this. I'm kind of good at picking stuff off the ground. Never would have thought. Years of working, picking stuff off the ground. So I take that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in love with deadlifts. So I deadlift pretty much the whole time I do this cut. I go from 250 to 200 pounds, still deadlifting 500 pounds. I maintained that it was hard to gain. I lost all strength on my stuff. That wasn't the emphasis then. I was more like, I want to look good. I want to be aesthetic. Then got to college, and I was like, you know what? I'm really tired of being weak. And my squat had gone from a low to mid 400 squat, ass to grass, to a 315 at that point, because I didn't train legs at all, because I was a true bro, and I started at my 315, did my workouts, went from a 315, more like a 335 squat, all the way up to 500 pounds at the end of the semester, that freshman year. Gained probably 20 pounds of body weight, 25 pounds of body weight. And then I was like, man, I really enjoy doing squat, bench, deadlift. And so I kind of was like, started looking on YouTube, found, like Jesus did, I found Russ Swall on the internet. I was like, man, this is who I want to be. Like, he looks good, he's shredded, he's huge, and he's strong. And this was before he was like, what he is now, like a freak. But he was still super duper strong. He's really the reason I started getting into it. So from there, started looking up stuff like on Elite FTS, all kinds of different powerlifting channels, and really kind of just started powerlifting based on that, because I knew that I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be strong at the big three. Didn't really think about competing, because I was still in the mindset of like, I want to see what I want to do. I pulled, my numbers when I first started, I was like, okay, I want to do a competition. So I found a competition. It was 15 minutes away from my house at home. So I got to, go home and stay the night. I was like, I'm going to do this. My numbers at the time were like 345 bench, like a 505 squat, and then like a 545 deadlift at 230, 235.
And this was your sophomore year, right?
That was yes. Well, that would have been 2018. That would have been my sophomore year.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Still very impressive for your first meet.
Yeah, that was the 28. That was on my sophomore year. So I spent my whole freshman year building up, and then I decided to do a meet in December of 2018. So it was my sophomore year. That was my numbers when I started training for the meet. Really did my own stuff of all the stuff I'd accumulated over the year of information I did, and I tried to do everything at once. And I tried to, every little tidbit I tried to do at once, and found out it was kind of hard to do everything. Didn't really know what worked for me at the time. I just lifted. Went in, did my own meet prep, did my own peak that I found on a random powerlifting website. I was like, I guess this is how you peak. I don't know. Went in December 1st, 2018, squatted 518, benched 358, and deadlifted 573, which was like a 40-pound PR at the time. So I was like, yeah, deadlift's about to shoot up. So everything's going good. About a month later from there, I start getting this pain in my calf and about below my knee, on the back of my knee, kind of. I'm like, what is this? And all of a sudden it gets worse and worse and worse, and it's getting to the point where I can't walk. So I'm obviously not squatting. I still deadlifted because I was like, I'm not losing this deadlift. It hurt so bad. It was some of the worst pain. Have you ever had a Charlie horse before? Like a super bad cramp?
Yeah.
In your calf? It was like that times 10 in my calf at all times. Calf started swelling up like crazy. I was like, this is the worst tendonitis. I had 5 people check it out, and I was like, what is this? Finally, I went to an orthopedic center and saw a foot and ankle specialist, or like a knee specialist or something. I was like, we got to get this fixed. And he was like, you don't have tendonitis. You have blood clots. You need to go to the emergency room.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. Wow. So I went from everything's going great, to you have blood clots and you're in critical condition. You might die. You need to go to the emergency room. So I go to the emergency room. They do an ultrasound. Sure enough, I had clots from the bottom of and that, I don't know what, I'm not an anatomy person, the big artery in your leg that runs from your groin to your foot. I had clots from the bottom of my foot all the way up to my groin, which was the only place they took the ultrasound. So, there's no telling where else I had them. Scary, super scary. I get, they wheeled me to the emergency room. I'm sitting there. Over the loudspeaker, it says there is a 10-hour wait in the emergency room. I get wheeled in front of everybody. I get first priority. Like, this is serious. You're.
Well, yeah, you got blood clots.
I got blood clots. Yeah. So I get into the emergency room. They're like, you might have to have surgery. Well, ask me all this information. My heart is just going like 1,000 miles per hour. And the first thing I can think of is, what if I can't lift anymore?
Yep. As you do.
That's the first thing I'm like, what if I never get to lift weights again? That's the first thing that goes to my mind. Doctor says that I was in a stable enough condition to where he feels like that taking blood thinners would be a better option than having surgery and having the clots removed. It would be less risky. So he gives me a blood thinner. First question I have for him, I'm like, can I go lift weights tonight?
You asked about that night going and lifting?
Do what now?
You asked about going and lifting that night after you got out of the hospital?
Yeah. I asked him that. I was like, can I go lift after this? He was like, I guess so. He's like, as long as you take your blood thinner before you go. And I was like, okay, whatever. So it went from, wow, I'm really not in a good place, to I can do what I want to do. So that was really my setback, if you want to say. I'm just thankful that they caught it before it got to be a huge problem.
So are there any lasting effects from the blood clots? Like, do you still have to take blood thinners?
I'm on blood thinners currently. I'm on a medicine called Eliquis. I still have to take it. The only really lasting thing is my leg swells up, but it's not from, the doctor explained it's not from blood clots anymore. The clots actually expanded my vein, and the valves that catch the blood are not working very much. So there's more blood going down my leg than going up. So the blood pools in my leg. So if I don't take the blood thinners, it kind of swells up a little bit. Calf is a little stiff, but I do mobility all the time, so it's not a huge thing. Other than that, it has not affected me strength-wise at all. After the pain, after I took those blood thinners, pain went away. So I was like, thank the Lord. Really started hitting it hard. I was like, I'm going to hit it hard, because I'm going to make the most of, having I'm not going to say it was a near-death experience, because who knows what would have happened, but it was a scary experience. It was like, I want to do something that makes me satisfied and happy with with being here. And I want to make the most of the time that I have on this earth, and the time I have while I'm young and healthy and able, because, who knows what will happen in the future. So I really, really, really hit it hard. My lift started going up like crazy. I ended up hitting like a 535, 545 squat. Hit my first 405 bench in that time period. And then my deadlift, I hit a this is crazy. I hit a 600-pound deadlift one week. Came in the next week, hit a 615 deadlift. Came in the next week, hit a 625 deadlift. Came in another week later, hit a 635 deadlift, all in a row.
Golly.
And my previous PR was 573.
Oh, man.
I was like, I've really turned it up.
How long had you been waiting until like the 573 until you started hitting a bunch of PRs? Was there a big time span?
Yeah, there was a big time span. I actually ran Ed Cohen's deadlift program at that time, and that was what kind of introduced me to like programming, instead of just going in and hitting whatever I felt like that day. It kind of introduced me to some like programming topics and stuff and periodizing and whatever, and I realized how not going balls to the wall every week really could help. And like I thought I could recover each week, and I thought I felt good on each lift each week. But sometimes, taking a step back to make a longer step forward is the answer.
That
really taught me that. Yep, that's the key. I learned, so in that time period, that is why my deadlift went up so fast. Because I actually ran a program. Did another meet after that. I actually started after I did that deadlift program, I started squat every day, which was absolutely ridiculous. You have to be a man to do that. You have to have some guts to do that. I did not go very well. So then somebody introduced me to Juggernaut AI programming, and I was like, you know what? I'm really tired of programming for myself. I'm going to put my programming in the hands of somebody else. So I bought it, and I am still running it to this day. That was about June, July of 2019. Went into the meet, hit 550 squat, 375 bench, and a 645 deadlift. That was my second meet. That was a like where I was like, okay, I have this. I can consistently go. So nothing major happened. Still been running the program. Still been running Juggernaut. Really, really satisfied with the results. Get to the meet, Power on the Plains meet, my first USAPL meet in November of 2019. I do a 585 squat, a 385 bench, and a 672 deadlift.
Whew.
That was where I was like, okay, I am pretty competitive in my weight class.
Just so everybody knows, this is raw, and you competed in 120, correctly?
I competed in 120. Forgot to mention weight classes. So for that meet, I weighed 260. For my previous meet, I weighed like 250, and then my meet in 2018, I weighed 233, 235-ish. Just to go back in a little bit. So I weighed 260 at that point. I was raw. I've been raw my whole time. That was a 1642 total in November. And then after that, I realized I was like, hey, I have a chance in this sport, like to be one of the better ones. And I'm 21, and I feel like I have a lot of momentum going ahead, and that's just why I was like, I made up my mind there. It's like, this is what I want to do indefinitely. I don't have a time limit. I don't have a time where I'm going to be like, I'm done. I'm going to be done when my body says I'm done.
Yeah, go as long as you absolutely can.
Right. And my goal in that is, if I may not make like huge progresses in between meets, but if I can stay healthy and keep everything in check for as long as I possibly can, and then I'll be able to stay in it the longest. And whoever stays in this sport the longest is the strongest, and that is a 100% guarantee.
It's a little Matt Winning right there.
Yep, that is a Matt Winning tactic. I watch a lot of his stuff, especially his like prehab, warm up stuff. I do a modified version of his warm ups. His real warm ups are a little bit intense for me. But I try to keep my nutrition in check. I try to keep my sleep in check. I try to keep my prehab, rehab, keep my shoulders, knees, hips, everything healthy. Jesus was talking about last week. I just remember this specifically. He was talking about the good girl, bad girl machines, keeping your groin and your hips healthy. I don't actually.
What do you call it?
The good girl, bad girl machine. Have you never heard that?
No.
No. That's going to be on a T-shirt.
It makes sense.
Good girl, bad girl.
That needs to be on a T-shirt. Do you do your good girl, bad girl with the exercise?
But yeah, I don't actually do those machines, but I have heard that called.
Oh yeah.
I just do.
Come on now, we know you do.
Oh yeah, every day. Got to keep them, But I try to, keep everything stable, core stuff. Staying healthy is my priority. I know that if I go into a session and I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling this, I can adjust. Good thing about the Juggernaut is it you can make significant changes to your daily routine or your daily workout based on what you input into the system. So if you're like, I'm dead, you can tell it that and it'll adjust, and it'll still have you on a plan to make progress in the long term. That's the key for me is having set time. Obviously you have set times where you want to hit set weight, but you have to listen to your body. If you're ready to hit the gas and you're ready like that, then and there, I get to tell the system that, and it's like, all right, you get to go heavier today. You get to add more volume. You get to go do something great. If you come in and you're like, I'm not really feeling it, or I'm dead, please stop. Don't do this to me anymore. I get to tell it that, and it'll drop volume, drop weight, and then it calculates that over the long term, and it kind of sets up a volume threshold where, like, hey, this is the right amount of volume for you. This is the right amount of frequency for each lift for you, or whatever. That's been really handy.
Yeah, folks, you heard it here. 2 guests in a row that are both pretty dang strong and have been lifting for a decent amount of time, that you have to listen to your body when you go work out. That doesn't mean you can just slack off if you get the sniffles that day, but if you got something that's really bugging you when you go into the gym, you got to take a step back and be like, okay, I need to play a long game, so I'm going to take it easier today so that I can peak in 3 weeks or whatever.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And that, it's so important. People don't realize it. Like, not everybody's like Jimmy and can just go balls to the wall all the time. Some people just have to, be able to say, I can't do it today. But you also have to be accountable in yourself and know the difference between when you're being a weenie and when you're actually like, hurting. And you also have to, be honest with yourself. And this isn't hard enough for this day. I feel really good and this is really easy. And it's a time where I can push it a little bit, where this would be a good opportunity to push it. You got to be able to push it. You got to be able to push the limit sometimes, but that's going both ways with listening to your body.
Absolutely. You got to play the long game.
Game.
Everybody wants that success right now. And I mean, of course, you can blame me for it too. I want PRs and I want my, numbers to go up now, but I know that's not how it happens. It takes time. It takes, months to get to a peak, and it takes years to get to that very competitive level, unless you're just, a genetic freak and just comes natural. And second or third meet, you're at nationals.
It's just staying consistent your entire life. That's all it takes. If you want to be good at something, you got to stay consistent and be disciplined enough to do it.
Exactly. Small progress is the key. Somebody's asked me before, it's like, you're really strong, but I don't ever see you lift like crazy heavy a lot. And it's like, well, I'm trying to build up my volume, and trying to get good, perfect techniques so that my body stays healthy, and then have planned times where I'm like, all right, this is the day that I'm going to bust it. But the majority of your training, or my training, is, conservative, very perfect reps, very perfect breathing, perfect technique, emphasis on it. And then when you take that technique and you apply it to your, rep maxes or your 1 rep maxes down the road, that's how you become stronger. It's not like I'm doing a 5 sets of 5 and I'm going to add 5 pounds every week or whatever. Yeah. It's like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you definitely need times to back off and go forward. Like you said, Absolutely. 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Exactly.
What are your meet and gym PRs at the moment?
So the meet PRs I mentioned earlier, the last meet I did was in 2019 because of COVID. I was supposed to do nationals in April, but that one was, 585 squat, 385 bench, 672 deadlift in that meet. I have done a 615 squat in the gym. Was not a max effort, so hopefully I can, put something a little bit extra. I've done a 405 bench. All right, now I've done a 415 bench, sorry. That wasn't max effort either. And I've done a 675 deadlift, but that wasn't max effort either. Like I said, part of listening to your body and trusting the plan is not having to max out in the gym all the time. So I'm not a huge advocate of testing yourself in the gym. It's like, yeah, you kind of want to know a range where you are and you want to hit a weight that allows you to set yourself up for a bigger weight later on and get yourself comfortable with that big weight. But I'm not a huge max out in the gym kind of person. What I would like to hit in this meet is a 625, 635 squat, like a 415, 425 bench, and a 700 to 705, 715 deadlift.
And where would that put your total?
Let's do some math. So let's do the best case scenario: 635 squat plus 425 bench plus let's just say 725 deadlift. That'd be 1785.
Wow.
And where does that rank you in the top for collegiate lifters?
So I have. This comes with another story. I have recently decided that I am comfortable lifting at a body weight of like 280, 285. So I have decided that I'm going to go up a weight class. That being said, I am still in the top 5 collegiate nationals with that total. Maybe top 3. I'm not sure. That was based on 2019 results.
Wow. And that's even just a total based off, because you're going to compete in a couple weeks here, aren't you?
In the 19th. So yeah. Almost like a week and a day.
And so then you even had even more room for improvement between the September meet and the nationals of next year in Baton Rouge.
Correct. And that's what I'm counting on, and I'm hoping that with a sustained body weight, like not having to plan a cut or having to, think about that, I can just go in and do my thing, eat how I want to eat, get all the nutrition, all the stuff that I need. I can go in and basically put all my cards on the table. Like, I've done everything I can to be as strong as I possibly can. So that being said, my goal is 1,800 at nationals. If I can achieve that, that'd be a long time. Like, never thought I even had a chance to touch that total. It's unbelievable I'm even saying that. Like, I don't know. It just seems like a huge number. And I know you got people like Russell Orhe hitting like 1850 or whatever, but at 183. But still, I feel like I'm not as much of a genetic freak as him. So it's like, it's kind of cool to sit there and
you haven't been doing it as long either. You're still pretty young to this.
Right.
But I'm sure if you stick with it, like you said, stay consistent, stay disciplined enough to do it, then you're going to get to that level. And he's an elite level powerlifter. And and you've come so far in these last couple of years. Like, when I first met you a year ago, I was like, who the hell is this dude? This dude, why haven't I met this dude before? And then we've just gotten talking more. You just gotten stronger, bigger, stronger. You're a monster. You can't stop.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
So that decision to move up from the 120 to 120 plus, was that an easy one, or did you have to do some deep thinking on that?
So I had been thinking about it for about a month. I have the mentality of, even if I'm not the best now, I want to set myself up to be the best someday. like you said, a long game. I feel like that if I try and play the game of cutting down for each meet, hindering my progress a little bit, then having to bulk back up because I feel better that way than cutting, bulking. I feel like in the long term that might hinder my progress a little bit more than I think it could. That being said, who knows? I may, for 5 years stay in the 120 plus, build up my strength as much as I possibly can, and then make a decision like, hey, I want to be competitive. I want to be, one of the best in the 120s because it's going to be hard to beat Ray Williams. But hopefully at that point I will have built myself up enough to where I can be competitive while cutting weight. I'm young, 21. A lot of the top guys are 30 years old, 35 years old. By the time I'm 30, 35, Lord willing, staying healthy, I hope that I can be there, if not, over it. That's the goal.
You just mentioned staying healthy. You mentioned how you listen to your body, of course, and you do a little bit of the warm-ups, but what do you think are some other ways that have helped you stay healthy?
Well, besides the fact that I just feel like I never got injured in high school football. I take that back. I got injured my freshman year because I played a varsity game and a 300-pound monster sat on top of me and broke my collarbone. Wasn't as strong then as I am now, but other than that, never had an injury in high school football. Never really been seriously injured. I just feel like I have a type of body, even though I may not be the strongest guy yet, I have a body that is able to handle a lot of abuse because I've been competing in something since I was young and consistently not really taking a break since I was 6. And I just feel like I have a body that can handle it. Some people do, and that's the people that get to the top. Some people don't. Anyways, that being said, I love to eat. I am a big advocate on nutrition, having everything right. Basically, I feel like most people that aren't making progress like they want are not eating enough. And when I say not eating enough, I mean eating enough quality food.
Yes.
Not going to the pantry and eating Oreos or chips or whatever. I'm talking about you need to add another cup of rice and another steak to your daily diet. You need to be eating more. You need to be eating more vegetables. You need to be, adding a protein shake in each day, stuff like that. And I feel like nutrition, although it's talked about a lot, there's always more you can do. It's like people have the debate all the time is like how much protein or how much whatever is enough. Why not eat more and guarantee that you're going to make that progress,
Just eat more. Just
eat more, whatever, And like I said, when eat more does not mean eat junk. Eat more means eat good quality food.
Yeah. I think that depends on the person too. If
right.
if it's someone that does gain weight really fast, then yeah, you do have to be a little bit more careful and do have to focus on quality, not necessarily quantity of that part. But if you're someone that's like when you weighed 199 pounds, I weighed 150. I came into college weighing 160 pounds, and now I'm 190. It just took a lot of eating. It just took a lot of eating and just I literally force fed myself to get where I am now. And you've done the same thing. Exactly. And it's not like either of us are, you're a very lean guy. I'm pretty chunky, but it's not like you didn't really gain any fat by eating more. You gained a lot of muscle. You gained quality weight, and that just shows if you can do it that same way, then anybody should be able to do it the same way. Yeah.
Because essentially you gained 40 pounds of, not 40 pounds of muscle, but 40 pounds of good quality weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was good weight though. You don't have very much body fat, I think that's just important. Not saying that the 80 pounds I gained over my course of my college career was all good. The freshman 15 turned into the freshman 25. Sophomore turned into another 25, 30. But
that just comes into staying consistent too. You eat day in and day out. You train You train day in and day. Well, not day in and day out, but you train consistently. Mm-hmm. And it all stacks on top of each other. It's a building block. Like Seth said earlier, you don't see the results right then and there. You see the results now from
Exactly.
what you did 3 years ago.
Right.
And
right.
it's not like
and,
gaining that weight was unintentional. Like you wanted
right.
to get bigger, to get stronger.
I definitely gained this weight with an intention in mind of getting stronger. And although like it did set me back a little bit strength-wise, I feel like that weight cut was a very needed process now that I go back and look at it, because it was almost like a body recomposition. Like I got rid of that excess fat before I started, going crazy with it. And I gained a lot of quality muscle, especially like in my legs and stuff. Squatting heavy, you're going to gain some quality weight in your legs. I gained quality muscle over that time period. Obviously not 80 pounds, but a good considerable amount. It makes a huge difference when you're constantly giving your body the nutrients it needs. Lots of people could get away with, or could get a lot stronger by just gaining a little bit of good quality weight, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just mature too. Like some of us go through puberty late. We might just we're in college. We're still in that growing phase. We're still growing. We're still getting bigger, stronger. And our body, sometimes our body's just like, all right, I need to eat. Give me something. It's like every 2 or 3 hours, you're like, wow, why am I so hungry? It's because you're growing.
After you ate a huge meal, and you're growing, height wise, whatever. But you're also, you're exhausting yourself in the gym every day. It's almost required. You got to eat.
Yeah, there's a lot of times, some days where I wake up and I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry for lunch, but I know that I literally have to get food in me to continue training.
Yep.
It sometimes
because that's what it takes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we had our first episode on starting something new. What advice would you give to someone looking to get into powerlifting?
Okay, powerlifting. If you think you're interested in powerlifting, then it is a requirement that you become technically sound at the main compound lift. That is the sport. That is what it is. So figure out a way, whether it takes, YouTube, videoing yourself, get a coach, get somebody that knows what they're doing to watch you and help you get to that point where you're technically sound. That is of utmost importance. Although all we talked about, eat, sleep, whatever. But the technique thing and being technically sound, if I wish I could go back and being able to start as a beginner doing the right technique, now that I go back and think about it, I wasn't really doing the right technique on my lifts until well after my first meet,
Yeah.
Even my second, I still had things to improve. Even my third, I've improved stuff on my technique since then. So I just wish I would have started out doing the lifts correctly. From making yourself technically sound and having enough, putting enough effort into that, you will get stronger. And that is a guarantee. Beginners can, do the 5 sets of 5, and it really doesn't even matter what you do. You're going to make progress. But making sure that you have that technique sound from the very beginning.
Also decreases the probability of injury when you're technically sound.
Exactly. If you can start out from the very beginning, not create bad habits early, you will less likely be injured. Also, I think that building muscle in general sets you up. Building muscle in some capacity sets you up, like you said, to not get injured as well. So putting an emphasis on getting bigger from the time you start lifting till you get to a point where, forever essentially, but, top level guys really don't have to have that extra size. But, muscle, having that extra muscle will help you get stronger and prevent injury in the long term. So becoming technically sound with the lifts and gaining a little bit of muscle. And in my opinion, a third thing is having someone to hold you accountable. Some people can do it by themselves, but some people need somebody to help them or somebody to train with them, somebody to do it with them. And if that's or somebody above you that you can take advice from and to guide you into that process of doing your first meet. I wish I would have had somebody my whole career to, tell me exactly what I needed to do. Now, I went to my first powerlifting meet. I didn't know anything about powerlifting really. I read the rule book 2 weeks before I did it to make sure I wasn't gonna, mess anything up. But other than that, I was like, I don't know how meets run, But yeah,
I got one thing. So I find it interesting too. Like, you see a lot of guys they're very competitive when they're young too. And if you look at the Soviets, they did the same thing. They put their young kids in physical exercise classes or GPP classes, general physical preparedness. And when you're talking about your hard work, you've been working since you were 6? Well, you've been competing since you were 6. That just sets you up for a long-term success because you build that base. And you said you've been picking stuff up for a long time. You've been working hard, and that led to your first 500-pound deadlift. And I think that, and if there are any parents watching this, and your kids and if you want to get your kids stronger and start getting them into sports and weightlifting in general, start letting them climb trees or carry stuff. That's the best way to build muscle, like strongmen. Like we talked about earlier, before the podcast. If you do a heavy carry, that's going to carry over to everything. Once you get strong doing that, your strength goes through the roof because you're gaining mass. Your body has to get bigger and thicker to be able to handle that load, and that just adds muscle mass all around. Would you say that's something that's definitely helped you?
Oh, 100%. That and the fact that I, like you said, doing stuff from the time I was young. I was an athlete from the time I was young, running around, swinging a bat, hitting people, pushing people, daily activities that require certain movement patterns, picking stuff up from working, just being well-versed from the time you're young. I just feel like athletes have a competitive, when they've been an athlete from the time they're young, they have a competitive advantage over people that haven't done anything and just start getting into weight training. Like you said, because of that GPP, they're able to handle that abuse, if you want to say. From the time that they're young, they're able to handle that. You'll see athletes, like college athletes, college football players that have been playing since they were young. They haven't really focused on powerlifting, but they can come in and squat 600 pounds. And they're they're just good at athletic things. And powerlifting is another, not as specific to, a running sport or whatever, but it still translates.
Yeah. When you're young and you can take your body through that range of motion, that's what your body needs. And that's how you build coordination. That's how you build your neuromuscular system. That's the best way to do it. When you're young, like I said, climbing trees, carrying stuff, run around, play soccer, whatever you do to get physically active. And I think that's what sets the baseline for a good athlete.
Yeah, obviously, this podcast is mostly geared toward high school and college lifters. But if there's any younger people out there, I encourage you, no matter where you live, go outside and start doing some work, like manual labor. I grew up on that. I was real young, push mowing, weed eating, pulling weeds, carrying stuff. Just like my grandpa had me when I was like 9 or something, filling 5-gallon buckets of gravel and carrying them to fill back the driveway in, and just stuff like that. Like Altman said. Like, your body has to adapt and grow to be able to do that. And I think that sets you up, for one, a really good work ethic when you do get into powerlifting or strength training. And two, your body is also better prepared than the average person who sat around and played video games all their childhood. Not to say that a gamer can't get into powerlifting and be good.
Which that would be great.
It'd be great. Anybody that's the wonderful thing about powerlifting is that after a certain age, any other sport, you pretty much have to be an expert. Like, you get to college, you have to be an expert at playing football. If you want to play football, you have to be an expert at playing baseball. You do not have to be an expert to do powerlifting from the very start. You can be a 14-year-old that has never even done a physical activity in your life. You can be a literal 90-year-old grandmother and start powerlifting.
Absolutely.
That's the great thing about powerlifting. But one thing you said, Seth, you were talking about work ethic. I don't think that work ethic is talked about enough in powerlifting. Having, for instance, in my life, I've always been taught to work hard. and work hard for everything you get. And that's one of those things that's hard to instill in some people. And that's really, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, we can argue all day long about periodization and powerlifting topics and stuff. But if it gets down to it, the ones that are the strongest work the hardest. And they have put not only their bodies and selves on the line in the gym, but they do it outside of the gym as well. They make sure everything is perfect, every aspect of their life is set around, powerlifting. And if that's what you want to do, then that's, in a way, that's what it takes. Not saying you have to give up everything to be a good powerlifter. I definitely haven't given up. I feel like I haven't given up a whole lot. Maybe going and drinking and partying and stuff, but I'm not interested in that anyways. One, mainly because I know that will not affect me in a positive way, for my life or for powerlifting. So I was just like, it's just not my thing.
It's just not worth it.
But other than that, right. Just being able to manage like life situations and stuff like that, that's important. But making sure that everything, all your ducks in a row, all the things, it takes that hard extra work,
What would you say to somebody that's they're frustrated, they're not really seeing the progress that they want to see, but they really are putting in the work. They really are doing everything that they can right then and there. They might have different situations going on, but what would you say to them, even if they're a little frustrated with their progress?
First, I would tell them, don't freak out. You are going to make progress eventually, because if they have the work ethic that I'm talking about, or we're talking about, then they are going to make progress eventually. They may have run into a wall where the work ethic is like tapped out, if that makes sense. They have to go like extra. Yeah, you can go in and bust it in the gym, but if you don't know what you're doing, then it's hard to continue to make progress. You almost progress. When I say work ethic, I mean more than just busting it every day. I mean working hard at doing every little detail correctly. So finding a plan or finding someone that will help you get to that plan of attack to get to where you want to go. That's what I mean, like little details and stuff.
So getting your sleep, eating your food.
Correct.
The lifting right. Focus on the quality.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is going to hit a plateau at some point, but you're also, if you keep doing things right and the right things, you will come out of that plateau and make progress.
Exactly.
And usually, plateaus can come on for different reasons, but usually it's because you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
Either, you're not taking your prehab or post-hab seriously, or your nutrition's not on point, or you've been getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. All those little things you kind of take for granted, they might be preventing you from making progress.
I'm going to ask y'all a question. What do y'all think about a mental barrier? Like, you see a weight and you say, all right, this is something I know it's going to be heavy. Like, you have that mental kind of block. How do y'all deal with that? I see Caleb smiling right now. I feel like he's dealt with it.
I oftentimes, actually almost every week, or not every week, but every block, I get to a point where I'm like, golly, that's a lot of weight. I'm not 100% sure in myself, but if I take that, I literally have to think about this. Like, I have to take that doubt out of my mind, and it's almost a process that I can't explain. It's a process of me telling myself that there is absolutely nothing in this world that I can't do, and including that is this weight is going to be lifted in some way. I've had a mental barrier with 700 pounds on deadlifts. I know I have the strength to do it. I have pulled it over my knees. You were there one day, Altman.
Yep.
I pulled 725 above my knees, but I had a mental block. I couldn't.
You definitely could have gotten
it out. I definitely could have gotten it if I wouldn't have had that mental block. I literally have to be like, there's nothing in this world that you can't do.
I believe that too. Like, okay, genetics plays a part in it. Yes, you have to be a little bit genetically gifted to do it. But people say, like, I really do think that you can change your mind is very strong. You could change how what your body's meant to do. I really do believe that. If you have that drive and that passion and that root discipline, that consistency to sit there and do it, I 100% believe you can do it. there are people who have done it. It just takes discipline, drive, consistency.
Yeah,
exactly. Somebody like Ray Williams, I couldn't imagine going up to a squat rack and looking at the bar loaded with 1,000 pounds and being like, I have to squat this right now.
Yep.
Like, I would have a mental breakdown. And I wouldn't know what to do. You know, it takes a certain mindset, and it doesn't matter as much when you first start that mindset. But I feel like as you go along and as you get closer to your genetic potential, and like Jesus said last week, if you want to get to your genetic potential, but you almost want to exceed it, you have to have a different mental state to get to that point. It takes that extra.
It really does, and it, again, like you said, it takes those little details.
and I guarantee you, when Ray walks up to a squat bar loaded with 1,000 pounds, he's not telling himself, you know, I hope I can squat.
Yeah, he's
this.
like, oh, I'm going to.
He's telling himself, I got this. I'm going to do this. And if he doesn't, then he moves on and tries it again.
Right, and that's something we can all learn from it. Like, we're squatting whatever weight we're squatting, and we're sitting here like, man, I hope I get it. Do you think Ray Williams is thinking that? Do you think anybody like that is thinking? No, they're thinking, I'm about to smash this. It doesn't matter if they're about to smash it or not. I've literally failed with weights before because I got in my own head. Weights that I have smashed before, I've failed them because I got in my own head about it. And it's frustrating, but you just have to just say, I can do it.
Yes, I can do it. I can bench 405. Like, it was funny. I watched a Josh Bryant video. He's training this like bodybuilder guy, and the bodybuilder guy, he always told people he could bench 500 pounds, but he's never benched 500 pounds. And he benched 500 for like a double or a triple. But he would just tell people like, I can bench 500 pounds. And you start to tell yourself that enough, and you start to believe it, and your brain's like, yeah, we can do that. We are going to do that. We're going to do it. So I think that plays a part.
It's funny you mentioned that. Every meet I've done, I've set a goal for myself. I'm like, I'm going to put this on the bar as the third attempt, and I'm going to hit it. And every time I've done that, not every meet, but every time I've done that, I've hit every weight that I've set out to do. Sometimes it'd be like a 30, 35-pound PR, and you're like, I never even dreamed I could hit this, but I did. I dreamed it for the past 8 weeks or so. I was like, I visualized myself squatting this, or I visualized myself picking this up off the ground. And in some cases, I've ended up doing more than I thought I could do because I had that mentality, and that's the difference.
And that once you start doing that, you said like every weight I visualize and I tell myself I'm going to do it, I do it. That builds confidence. Mm-hmm. And then you can, all right, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then you do it, and it builds more confidence.
Stack those wins.
Yep, exactly.
Man, I hope everybody's gotten something they can take away from this. Caleb, man, we really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for your time. Where can people find you on Instagram?
My Instagram is caleb.meyer, and there's 2 R's on the end. I actually have a lifting page as well. Me and my brother have a lifting page.
The thick Myers.
thick bros. THICC.bros. We're trying to get that started. I'm trying to get him to post more. It's mainly been me posting, but I feel like he's like, well, if I do good in this meet, then I'm going to post.
And he's competing. He is competing at this next meet, correct?
Correct. He is competing at this next meet, and he is looking very, very good. He has the potential to be great at this. He's just a natural athlete, man. He's one of those guys you were like, doing stuff when you were little, and he was all over the place. It's like he was just crazy, doing like 70-inch box jumps and stuff like that, like crazy stuff. But he's definitely worked his tail off, and I'm proud of him for it. But be on the lookout for him. You can maybe see his updates on Thick Bros.
Yeah, so everybody go check out Caleb and him and his brother's lifting account. As always, you can find us at triple.b.podcast on Instagram. Altman, where you at?
At Big's College Strength.
As always, and you can find me at Todd76. Thanks everybody for listening today, and hope your week goes great.